like a couple years ago, and
because chat, there's a lot of videos. Okay. He begged for number one. Does that mean?
Like, you guys, I literally got ghosted, and people in the audience get so mad.
Yeah, this is good or not? Okay, let's take out the hoodie. Chat. Oh, sorry about that. Can you even be? Can you even? I actually haven't read TOS in a while. Can you even be shirtless anymore on Twitch or not? They don't need an hour? Fuck off. What are you talking about, dude? What do you know about it? What does that do? They have to watch every video.
People expect me to be funny all the time. 3, 2, 1, go.
Of course not. What?
It's,
dude, 77% of people said yes.
It's, if you're a one-liner comic, then sure, someone goes, hey, tell me a joke, you might be able to pull that off. But the overwhelming majority of us have some sort of structure where we're telling a narrative or something of that nature, where just me and you talking and introducing, it's not conducive to making you laugh.
Anybody ever says to me, oh, you're funny, tell me a joke, I just go, pay me.
Thanks so much, man. It's my job. Me to share the link.
I'm not on the clock now. If you want to hear a joke, or you go to a doctor. I'm a doctor. Oh, does this look infected? Right? It's that same thing.
Like, people that try to be funny off stage usually aren't the funniest on stage, I've noticed, and then the ones that are the quietest are usually the killers. Long time ago, I opened for Robin Williams, and I had never met the man, but he whispered the whole time. I'm like, oh my God, this is not gonna go good. We went to dinner, and he's like, would you like a salad? I was like, okay. And then he got up on stage and became Robin Williams and crushed. But until that moment, he was the quietest man I ever met.
So I think that if we were famous, we might strongly agree because people, when I meet a famous comedian, I'm like, I don't necessarily expect them to be funny, but I'm sure most of the world does, right? Like, I'm sure Dave Chappelle can't even go to the grocery store.
I don't know if I want that kind of fame, do you?
Why not?
Can't go to a grocery store? Lady Gaga tweeted this week that fame
fuck?
is prison. And that stuck with me
that's
so
the
hard.
kind of prison I'd want to go to. So.
Sound mind.
Yeah, lock me up, honey. Okay.
I tell offensive jokes. 3, 2,
Uh-oh, here
1,
it comes, dude.
go.
Okay, I joke about the time that I was raped, and so I've had people come and tell me before that it was very offensive to them, and I am not making fun of victims at all. I make fun of just him and the female detective that kind of botched my case. So kind of just, oh no, it's okay, When I was first doing the jokes, I think it was a little too raw, so I think it was coming off as offensive. But I think and then I just like waited, and then now that I'm coming at it 4 years later, I can come at it as like, I feel like I've been able to like make it more funny now.
my boyfriend died like a couple years ago, and so I have this joke like, oh, you guys, I literally got ghosted. And people in the audience get so mad. And I'm like, and then they're like, how could you? And I'm like, you don't know my boyfriend, because my boyfriend would have loved that joke, and he would have been like, go baby, So he's older man. Go baby, ah.
As a mixed race dude, I shit on white people and cops from time to time. And while it's not necessarily the attempt is to like offend white people, a cop might get offended when I say that. Cops look at me, and when I ask if there's a problem, they say, maybe. That's just how it is.
I talk about white people from my own experience working in corporate America, and I see the shifts and the way sometimes people feel uncomfortable, and I like it. And then I also talk about pussy, and my own grandmother is offended by that. But it's fine, because it's like,
That's not offensive, is it?
A grandmother?
I have been personally offended by someone else's joke. 3, 2, 1, go.
What?
Public service announcement. White comics, stop trying to say the N-word on stage.
I was on BET for 10 years. I was probably the most famous white comic on there. I had a sitcom on there. I got away with saying anything I wanted on the road, and I still never used the word.
But what if
And
he's
my
trying
daughter's
to,
black.
This
and
guy
I
just
never
rigged
used
it.
it about her or my ex-wife or.
but what if that comic is trying to make a point?
What's up with the Me Too movement? I'm like, y'all were raping us. That's what's up with the goddamn movement. So shut the fuck up.
Yeah,
Shut
fuck
the
them.
fuck up. That's what's up
exactly
with it.
right.
It's not funny. It's not going to be funny. And I was just at a mic, and a guy was like, "Why are girls crying about getting raped? At least you're getting some." And I'm like, "Oh, you said the wrong damn thing." And I'm so happy I don't have eggs with me because they would be all over you. Like I cannot.
My whole mindset as a comic
I'm not
is you
saying
can say
anything.
whatever you
Dude.
want on stage. That's what's wonderful about comedy. It's one of the last bastions of free speech. But at the same time, to go to some places that a lot of newer, unexperienced green comics go to, i.e. offensive, N-word, Me Too, all of that, is one, lazy writing, and two, jumping into the deep end of a pool when you still have floaties on the second step walking in.
If you said the N-word on stage, which I wouldn't recommend because he doesn't. You couldn't, but you could technically, but you couldn't.
I'll be straight up with that. I have used the word on stage and will, but that is because
And guess what?
spend a solid 10 minutes building up the fact I am a person of color. I
And
am
that's okay.
black.
And
I am
people
on
of
your,
color
yeah.
come in different shades.
Exactly. Yeah. We're all.
Really, my daughter's just barely darker than you.
Yeah, that's how it goes.
Different
yeah.
shades.
We're all on a spectrum.
Dude, what the fuck?
It is
Okay,
possible
this is bait,
to be
dude.
both a great
Chat, this is
comedian
bait. This
and
is bait.
politically correct. 3, 2, 1, go.
I have two words for you, Brian Regan. Brian Regan is one of the greatest comics out there, and he does not curse, he is not offensive, he sells out theaters, he has a huge following, he's maintained and advanced
Sorry, who?
since the 80s.
I'm not saying he's not a great comedian.
But that's the question, can you be a great comedian and be politically correct?
Will anyone remember him in 10 years? I'm not
Yes.
saying you won't. I will.
Yes, he has a
As
loyal fan
opposed
base.
to a Dave Chappelle who is not PC, or as opposed to anyone else who's way more famous.
Comedy is subjective. That's what makes it wonderful. That's why there are filthy comics and there are Christian comics, and
Chat,
they
the
all
videos are
have
still
their
up, by the way.
audience.
It's-
You're
we're still filtering them.
zeroing in as, oh, greatness means changing the world. Greatness can mean you're not going hungry anymore. Greatness can mean that you can afford to help your family out. That's great to me.
I didn't get into comedy to be Nelson Mandela. I'm just telling jokes. I'm just trying to be funny. And if you made a crowd laugh and you made them have a good time, and that's what greatness is are you entertaining? Are you making folks laugh?
My industry is sexist. 3, 2, 1, go.
Okay. Wait,
It was
I agree.
my first year doing stand-up, and I did some comedy contest or something at the Haha Cafe or whatever. And
The Haha Cafe.
I lost. I was the only girl in it. And then the guy who was running it comes up to me and he was like, "Hey, a little bit of advice. If you have big tits, talk about it." And I was like, so taken aback. I was like, "What? Excuse me?" And I felt disgusting. I felt objectified.
I have to cancel people's trips because I will hear from a female comic what someone said to them in a car. And to me, I don't tolerate it, so I just call up that guy and say, I'm replacing you.
Some of them are like,
Oh, cool,
I
man.
love it. I think I get advantages as being a woman, blah, 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 blah. There's like a group of friends who believe that, who think it's a huge advantage, who play it up, who do whatever, you know what I mean? They think they get more bookings because they are women. The shows that I'm booked on, I see 50-50. I think it's because of the crowd I run in. Sure, of course, yeah. You know what I mean?
So if you're a part of the gay community, if you're part of a women's group and they support women in comedy and things like that, you probably will be on more diverse shows. But if you're going to the Comedy Store every Monday, like me, and you're one of this many women of color, you know what I mean? It's very difficult.
And you're
Smaller
talking
and
about when they're
But I
picking
think you're
for who
correct
goes
because
up.
like
Yeah,
when I
exactly.
feel like
Chat, I feel like I could be wrong about this. Chat, I feel with comedy, you're kind of like selling a product, right? If you say your jokes and they're funny, you kind of win. I could be wrong. I could be wrong. I feel like if you're funny, it speaks for itself. It's power. People laugh. You know, you got the goal. You know. And
when
if
I
you're not funny, you fail. I don't think there's a lot of there's not too
feel
many
a
that's to it.
pushback against the. I just don't. Okay, I've done the Monday show at the certain club, right? You know what I mean? I've gone a couple times, and I'm like, ooh, I'm sensing a little hostility. Cool.
Doing comedy is a way for me to work through mental health issues. 3, 2, 1,
Definitely.
go.
Wait, definitely, I feel like.
Comedy
What
is
does that mean?
therapeutic.
It means like, I think what they meant by that is like, oh, dude, like, if I have a problem with my life or whatever and it's really bad, I'm gonna joke about it, dude, and make fun of it and diminish it. So my head, like, has an easier time going through it or whatever. Like, if I make fun of it, I diminish it to, it's easier to cope with or something.
Comedy is therapeutic for me. It's not therapy.
Yes.
You know, this is such a weak sauce thing. Like, my parents divorced recently. I go on stage to go, there's something very funny about being 25 and having your parents divorce.
Like all my life, I wanted to feel included or feel like somebody could relate to me. And the first time that I did comedy, like talking about corporate America, where I'm like the only black woman that works there, and just feeling people be like, yes, or I relate to you, or I've had that experience, or I know somebody who has, that made me feel like, I'm not like the only one. I don't know if comedy is enough to get me through something. Like if I lost my mom or my dad, I don't know if comedy is enough to get me through that.
When my parents died, you know, someone made a joke about something my dad had done, and instantly I laughed. And then when my brother died, some other comic said something really funny and shitty about him, made me laugh. I had a friend that died recently, and someone wrote a top 10 list of why they were happy he was dead, and it made me laugh, and that's okay. It's okay,
that's,
you know.
okay, well, that's
shit happens.
That's
I
definitely too
agree
far.
with you
Dude.
too that comedy is not therapy, but it's incredibly therapeutic, and I have taken, I know personally, leaps in the healing process by taking my pain and turning it into laughter.
I think it alleviates the shame factor of whatever you're feeling.
Yeah.
Like if it feels shamed, just go and say, like,
Yeah.
I'm a big old bottom with daddy issues. All right, that's it. Yeah, I'm saying it,
Yeah.
and then it's like, oh, haha, oh, great, awesome.
A couple months ago, I've been through a divorce, and I found out like 2 months after my ex and I broke up, she'd already slept with somebody. And it was so painful, and it was humiliating, and it was a shot to the ego. And right before I said it, right before I went to the joke, I said out loud, okay, here we go. Because I was literally just trusting myself and the audience that they're gonna go with me on this and catch me when I fall. And they did. And that first time that joke worked and got that laugh, it was just like, oh, it doesn't hurt as much anymore.
It was not good, dude.
I did it.
That was not bad.